The movie starts with a young woman is trying to escape from someone. She runs toward a gate, panting. Blood is all over her body, but the gate is locked. Someone grabs her. Then the story moves to the beginning, with a celebration on a live broadcast of Serial Chat, a very popular true crime podcast. The hosts are Ava, Brad, and Tommy. They are excited and proud because they helped solve a 40-year-old cold case involving a serial killer called the Jolly Ripper. The case made their podcast extremely successful and brought them national attention. Much of the credit goes to their mentor and special guest for the episode, Professor Lance Clemens from the University of Pittsburgh. Clemens is introduced as a former FBI agent who worked in the Violent Crimes Unit for 30 years. During his career, he hunted some of the most famous killers in American history, including John Wayne Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer. Clemens talks about what he calls his gift. He says he can see the bad in people. He explains that this ability helped him suspect John Wayne Gacy during what should have been a routine interview. Clemens claims that this instinct helped him push Gacy into confessing. The interview with Gacy wasn't meant to get a full confession right away. It was more of a stalling tactic. While Clemens sat with Gacy at the police station, other detectives were racing to secure a search warrant for his home. At one point, Clemens noticed that Gacy was getting restless. The other detectives were starting to lose control. So he asked for a few minutes alone, relying on his knack for seeing the bad in people. Clemens confronted Gacy about the blood on him, asking directly, "You want to tell me about the blood?" Gacy claimed he'd hit a deer on his way home from a party. He said he tried to save it, but it died in his arms, leaving him covered in blood. Clemens pressed harder, asking if Gacy had kidnapped a child as some twisted way of getting back at his own father. Instead of answering, Gacy asked Clemens if he had children and then made a chilling remark about his business, saying that little boys love clowns and that he was just trying to expand his reach. As the interview went on, Gacy became increasingly erratic, offering to switch between his different social identities. He asked Clemens which John he wanted to speak with. Gacy even tried to cut the interview short, claiming he had a birthday party to attend in a few hours. The interview worked exactly as planned. By the time Clemens wrapped up, the search warrant had been executed. Within the hour, investigators discovered 3 bodies at Gacy's home. The case solidified Clemens' reputation as one of the top hunters of serial killers. He says he later became a teacher so he could pass on his knowledge to the next generation of students. Brad asks Clemens why he has to use a wheelchair. Ava and Tom were not happy about that. But surprisingly, Clemens says it is the work of the worst criminal, alcohol. The happy mood suddenly changes when a breaking news alert interrupts the show. The alert says that the Orange Creek Carver, a serial killer who evaded capture for 50 years, has finally been arrested. This causes an argument between the hosts. Brad says the killer still won because he lived his entire life free. Ava and Clemens disagree. They say that justice still matters, even if it comes late. Brad makes a speech saying serial killers get caught because they are dumb and lazy, but Clemens strongly rejects that. Finally, they tell the audience that they are going to talk about the Vindicator in the next episode. The Vindicator is famous for a very specific modus operandi. He targets small groups of people. He kills one person and dissolves another person in a vat of acid. Over the years, he's committed murders in 49 states. Investigators believe Arizona is the last remaining state and that he will strike there next. During the same broadcast, Ava announces a big surprise for their listeners. She says the podcast is going on the road. They are traveling to Arizona to investigate the most mysterious serial killer of the new millennium, the Vindicator. Surprising the others, Ava tells in the podcast that she has evidence to catch the Vindicator. Tom and Brad do not know about that. She keeps it a secret. After the show, Brad is angry because Ava has been keeping secrets. She has hidden new evidence related to the Vindicator's identity from him. Tommy tries to stay neutral, but the stress is obvious. Tommy arranges for them to stay at the Hendricks Ranch while in Arizona. The ranch is the childhood home of Todd Hendricks, a former police officer. Todd was once the main suspect in the Vindicator killings. When they arrived, they are greeted by Steve Hendricks, Todd's son. Steve now rents out the property and runs a local business. Steve talks about his father with sadness. He says Todd was destroyed by the accusations. Steve claims people chased his father out of town. According to him, Todd returned home and later died in 2002, broken and alone. Steve shows them the barn and the garage. They choose the garage to hold their podcast.
When Steve is about to leave, Ava asks him to come for an interview with them because he is the son of Todd Hendricks. Steve agrees to come on tomorrow's show. The team sets up their recording equipment inside the ranch's barn. They begin their first live broadcast from Arizona. Ava starts explaining the full history of the Vindicator. The first known murder happened in April 1994 in Jericho, Vermont. The victim was Jolene Stigert. Her body was found with 17 bloody arrows stuck in her entryway. On her chest was a list of 17 names. These names belonged to men she was having affairs with. The note was signed The Vindicator. Ava explains that the word vindicator means to prove something is right or justified. The killer believed he was exposing hidden sins. His murders were meant to publicly shame his victims. In the first case, Jolene's husband Bob Stigert disappeared. He was never found. His fingerprints were found on the arrows, but his bank accounts haven't been used since then. Later, in 1999, police connected the crimes to Todd Hendricks after finding a fingerprint at a crime scene in Illinois. Even though there was DNA and fingerprint evidence, Todd was never convicted. He later committed suicide in 2002, according to his family members. However, the Vindicator killings did not stop after Todd's death. This made many people believe there was either a copycat killer or that the police accused the wrong man. Ava says maybe Todd never died. When she's about to bring the facts to support that, the lights suddenly shut off. The barn goes completely dark. The equipment hums, then crackles. A distorted male voice comes through their radio system. The voice calmly convinces them he is the Vindicator. At first, they think it's a prank. Then the voice begins listing private details about their lives that were never shared publicly. The Vindicator tells them this is not a threat. He calls it a game. The reward of the game is his identity. They can walk away, but the Vindicator informs them that there will be consequences. Ava agrees, though the others don't. The Vindicator orders them to place their phones outside and go to the barn. He tells them he is watching and listening. On their way to the barn, Tom avoids the other two and goes to the car, but someone has stabbed the tires. Tom comes and joins the others. Tom places a camera in a corner. When they are inside, the Vindicator locks the barn. There is a chair in the middle of the barn. On it, there are 3 wristbands. The Vindicator orders them to take them and clamp them around their wrists. Despite Tom's rejection, Ava encourages them to do it. The Vindicator orders them to pick a number between 3 and 10. Bradley picks 7 after thinking for a while. So the game is set. They must answer 7 questions of repentance. Each correct answer will expose a clue to the identity of the Vindicator. If they lie, refuse, or try to escape, there will be consequences. They also have 1 lifeline. The first question goes to Tom. The Vindicator starts calmly. He asks Tommy to say his full legal name. Tom answers correctly. The Vindicator congratulates him. Brad says this man is playing with us. Ava asks for the first clue to the identity. The Vindicator says, what do Michael Myers, the killer in Scream, and Jason have in common? They are confused.
Question 2 goes to Brad. The Vindicator asks Brad for his birthday. Brad lies without caring. Brad asks the Vindicator what he is going to do about that. As punishment, he orders Ava and Tommy to kiss 5 times for the 5-year relationship of Ava and Brad. Brad tries to leave, and the bands clamped on their wrists start to vibrate, and they scream in pain. It stops after Bradley says okay. Brad refuses to watch them kiss, but the Vindicator tells him it won't stop until he watches. Ava kisses Tom. The Vindicator counts. Question 3. Ava's gateway crime. The Vindicator turns to Ava. He asks her what her first crime was. She admits that she stole lingerie with her friend at age 13. The Vindicator tells her that small crimes shape big criminals. He says Ava's addiction to taking what does not belong to her has grown. He says her lies and theft have now put innocent lives at risk. Ava asks for the next clue. The next clue is hidden under a bale of hay. It is a public photo of Todd Hendricks' suicide, but the face is blurred. Ava thinks that's because of what he did to his face. Question 4. Tommy's scars. The tone changes. The Vindicator tells Tommy to remove his shirt. Slowly, Tommy removes his clothes, revealing deep scars across his body. The Vindicator tells him to tell the story of the scars. Tommy says they are from a car accident. The Vindicator says that is another lie. He orders Brad to open a bucket that had been kept and take out his journal. Brad reads from it out loud, his voice shaking.
The journal reveals that Tommy is a masochist. He hurts himself to cope with his unreturned love for Ava and his hatred toward Brad. The Vindicator says secrets rot relationships. Brad blames Tom, calling him a psycho. As punishment for the wrong answer, the Vindicator orders Ava to cut Tommy with a knife. Ava takes the knife and says sorry to Tommy. Tommy nods, accepting it. Ava makes the cut. Tommy bears the pain. The Vindicator says repentance requires sacrifice. Question 5. Brad's relapse. The Vindicator now focuses fully on Brad. His question is, when was the last time Brad drank and hurt someone? Brad publicly claimed to be sober for 4 years. The Vindicator reveals Brad relapsed. He also reveals text messages Brad sent to Tommy, threatening to strangle Ava after she rejected his marriage proposal. Brad denies it until the Vindicator reads the messages word for word. As punishment, Brad is ordered to strangle Ava until the Vindicator says to stop. Ava and Brad argue. Ava has rejected him for focusing more on career success. Brad strangles her and stops before the Vindicator says to stop. Brad uses their single lifeline to stop the punishment. The Vindicator agrees, but says mercy has a cost. He orders Tommy to choose a weapon from the toolbox and hit Bradley. Before hitting him, Tommy reminds Bradley about his bad treatment of Ava. Brad is beaten. Question 6. The stolen evidence. The Vindicator asks Ava how she got the Jolly Ripper files. Ava admits she stole them from the Scranton Police Department. The next clue is found. It is a framed photo of Todd Hendricks and Steve Hendricks when Steve was a child. Last question. Brad's infidelity. The final question is delivered slowly. The Vindicator asks Brad what he did the night Ava rejected his marriage proposal. It was not only his relapse. Brad admits he slept with their genealogist, Molly, in the same bed Brad shared with Ava. Ava is devastated. This revelation destroys what little trust remains. After the questions, the Vindicator gives them 2 minutes to guess his identity. Ava connects the clues about Todd Hendricks' DNA found in a 16-year-old born after his death and the blurred face in Todd Hendricks' suicide photo. She thinks Todd is alive and that the Vindicator is Todd Hendricks. Unfortunately, the Vindicator says the answer is wrong. He gives a final ultimatum. One person must be dead within 1 minute or they will all die. The Vindicator uses a laser to threaten them. Bradley suggests killing Tommy. He says this is all his psycho plan. Tommy suggests killing Bradley. They argue, but suddenly Brad attacks Tommy, trying to kill him. Before he succeeds, Ava starts stabbing him to death. Bradley dies. Ava looks at the dead body. Someone unlocks the barn. They come out of the barn. Tommy moves forward alone. When he looks for Ava, the Vindicator comes from behind and knocks him down. Ava wakes up near Bradley's dead body. Her hands are tied. The Vindicator enters the barn carrying Tom in a wheelchair. He is revealed to be Professor Lance Clemens. Clemens explains that although he sees the bad in people, he saw good in Ava since she entered his class. Clemens opens Tommy's chest and takes his heart out. He throws it to Ava. Ava screams. He plans to dissolve Ava in acid because she has blood on her hands. He takes Ava to the tub. Her struggle causes acid to spill on Clemens' face. Clemens moves away. Ava puts her hands in the acid tub and loosens the ties, screaming. She tries to escape through the gate, but it is locked with chains. Clemens catches her. Ava claims she gave the correct answer. Todd Hendricks was the original Vindicator. Clemens says Todd became careless and deserved to die in 2002. Clemens took over the killings to complete the masterpiece correctly. Ava moves back. She grabs a tire iron from the toolbox behind her. Clemens says he is not happy about her stealing the evidence file. She hits him while he is talking. She says she learned from the best and she will be a better psychopath. She kills Clemens by throwing him into the acid tub. Clemens dies. She leaves, taking the car keys and the mask. The movie ends with another podcast called Those Who Sin with Lynn and Sin. They discuss Ava's disappearance. Some people believe she is a hero. Others believe she was the killer all along, pointing to the bloodbath and acid tub found at the ranch. Steve Hendricks appears on the podcast and says he was knocked out. He claims he found a camera that shows the truth. During the broadcast, audio captures Ava finding Steve. This suggests she is now hunting anyone who could expose her. The student has surpassed the teacher. A new, more dangerous Vindicator now exists.